Okay guys and girls, we do a little Q&A, right? So some of you sent me in questions. We don't have too much time left, unfortunately. Benny has to work. So we try to keep it short. So Mark Andre was the first to send me a question. He asked, how do I combine De La Riva and reverse De La Riva guard? So generally, when we play a reverse De La Riva guard, right? Let's say if I play with my right leg, it's basically the same body position than if I play regular De La Riva on his other leg. So my right leg and my whole body is basically the exact same position, but not much is changing. So that's why I play on this side reverse De La Riva and on this side regular De La Riva. Right? So they're really similar. There are also a lot of attacks and movements that are very similar between them. Right? There's also of course unique ones that you have to get good at this specific guard, but they're for the most part they're really similar. So now he asks if I would still recommend this and how would I go about if I want to learn the same on the other leg. I definitely would recommend it because you're using what you already learned here without having to start from scratch on the other side. But it's also very beneficial to be able to play De La Riva on the opposite side. So if this leg is forward and I can switch from reverse De La Riva to De La Riva, that's also pretty handy to have in your arsenal. Also, personally for me, right now I'm learning reverse De La Riva on this side, just because I prefer reverse De La Riva. I think for me it's a stronger guard, right? It's of course debatable, but for me it's a stronger guard with more options. So I like to play reverse De La Riva more than De La Riva, and I'm learning right now to use my left leg for the reverse De La Riva on this side. Right? But it's really awesome if you have both and you can switch, right? So this is really cool to have. Right? And I would also always start with one, right? So that was also one thing Mark mentioned. He's like, would you try to do both at the same time or one? I would always start with one, at least for a little bit until you get a good hang, and then you can add the other. So both for sides and between De La Riva and reverse De La Riva. Also, for any other move, right? It's usually better to learn one side at least decently and then bring in the second side. Because a lot of times if you learn new moves, you just get caught up and you mix up sides and details and everything. But if you have one side well developed and you know the details and the important parts of it, you understand the mechanics, then you can just teach yourself the other side pretty quickly, right? It's not that complicated. I hope it helps, and if you have further questions, then please let me know, Mark. Okay, friends, next question was from... She sent a bunch of questions. We'll only cover like a few of them now, because time constraints, but they're not lost. I cover the rest next time. The questions we're looking at today is regarding triangles, right? So one thing is, when we have a triangle, like a regular front triangle here, I generally want to be in the angle of this leg that's on his neck, basically. So if I would have this angle, right, it's first of all it's easier to close the triangle if I don't have long legs, right? His shoulder can fight me less. Like so many advantages. I have a stronger finish, right? I could block his arm if punches are involved. But if he tries to lift me up here, it's really hard because, you know, the angle is just horrible for him because I'm sideways hanging on him. Instead of when I'm here, you know, he can stack me, he can lift me up, he can do all those things. So whenever you have the angle, you know, a lot of the problems, they just go away instantly, right? So we want to have this angle. So Corinna asked, what am I doing if I'm not having the angle? So let's say she has a triangle here, but she basically lost the angle. And this basically means her opponent has the option to press his knee down, which is a good defense, right? Ryan Hall calls it the Roger Gracie defense, and I think it's one of the best triangle defenses. There's a lot of details to this defense, but the basic gist is get this knee to the floor, right? That's already pretty powerful. And then of course it depends, Corinna didn't specify, is this arm here or is this arm here, right? Preferably we would want this arm on this side, right? Other than you would think if you're like, you know, learned Jiu-Jitsu 20 years ago, you would think this side is worse, but it's actually pretty good for us, right? Because we can switch here, we can go to Kimuras here, right, which is really strong. And we can also choke, we can choke with this reverse triangle too, but generally the arm, attacking the arm is easier. Or you get this, he pushes back into you, right, just to fight this, and then you get your original angle for the regular triangle. And that's one good option. But she also said she can sometimes switch the legs. So she's here, but she feels she can't switch the legs, there's too much pressure. And it's probably, I would assume, I'm not sure, but I would assume that she has this, the opponent has this arm here and they pull on your knee. And there's so much pressure on here, right? So now if I try to switch here, it's really hard and I don't have the angle and I'm probably just, you know, losing the entire triangle once I'm doing this. So when this happens, It's of course really bad. We're pretty late in the game. One thing you can sometimes do if the people are not too good and not too strong, you can just hip a little bit up and build a frame underneath your knee, and then come back into the angle. Right? That's one easy thing. And also on the way sometimes, like while they try to do this defense, right, and you try to push it up, you basically get underneath just like when you would do a reverse Hiva guard. You push your arm under the knee, so it's really hard for him to stack you in the proper Hodger defense. From here, you just want to be tight, and then you want to work your way back into your angle. Right? If you can't get this either, one good option from here is to work this arm, right, the near arm. So if he's really doing the defense really well, he would try to hide his arm as much as possible. Right, the inside arm is a liability for him. But if you're early, right, while he's getting it, you can catch this inside arm and you can extend it to either arm bars, right, or into these Americana type attacks, right, which are really strong from here because the shoulder is completely immobilized. Right? So these are both good options. And then, like I said, usually you get a submission from here. If for some reason you push into you so strong you can't get it, then you can come back and you go back to the regular triangle. Right? You could also try to flop him. A lot of times, if people are not doing this defense properly, if he doesn't have his legs based out far enough, right, which a lot of people do, or they base it in the wrong direction. So if his legs are too far over here, right, or he's on his knees or whatever, now it's pretty easy for me to just come up and do this flop here, right, and then get a mounted triangle, which is of course even stronger. Okay. But if they have proper leg basement, this is really hard. You could try to use it and bump him one way, and if you push back, go the other way, go back and forth. But it's really energy consuming for both of you. If you're already, ahead in the energy department, you could do it. But if you already feel tired, I wouldn't do it. The most reliable is catching this arm, right? Don't let him get this arm hidden. The inside arm. Try to attack it with the armbar and the Americana variation. And also usually always try to switch your legs if you can. Right? So basically there's 3 layers now here just to get to the point, right? Ideally I never want him to get this arm over there, right? If I can prevent it, that would be ideal. Right? Then I should be able to switch my legs or even without switching the legs, I could start going for Americana. Of course you could wrap it underneath, right, and stuff like this. Then we definitely have to bump him here to get to the angle to the arm, right? So we have to switch the triangle. But if I fucked up and his arm is over here, right, which is like generally, long time ago was considered the good side for me, but it's actually the good side for him, if you ask me. So if he has the arms here, we want to ideally wedge underneath here and work our way back underneath, right? But it's really good, really persistent. Press my knee down, right? And I can't get underneath, I can't bring him back. Then, it's going to be really hard. So I have to get this arm and pull it hard to me. So from here it's hard for him to escape, and I can usually get the submission and or get him to push in and get back to my triangle. And if he's not basing properly, I can always flip him over. I can flip him over and get the mounted triangle, right? That's the basic idea here. The second question from Corinna regarding triangles was, what am I doing if I have the triangle, but I couldn't lock it properly before he postured up, right? Which is very common. So he tries to get up, right? And I couldn't get close enough to him, right? So what she means, if I'm really tight here, now it's super hard for him to once I control his head and everything. But maybe my setup wasn't so clean, he's up, right, and he has a good posture. And maybe he even pulls me off the floor, and he's really high and obviously not helpful for me, right? So what could we do from here? There's a number of things we could do. The main thing we want to do is put pressure on his spine. So what I like to do is clamp my knees together and pull them towards my chest. Right? Just like we did from close guard, where we're constantly using our knees to pull him forward. Right? We do the same thing from a triangle here, right? Or this almost triangle, diamond position, whatever you call it, threatened triangle position. And if he's up, from here I want to constantly pull him, and what also helps with these hands, to push on his knees. So if he's really up and he's strong, I can't get him down, I push on his knees and I make this jump backwards, right? This is really hard for him to resist. And another thing is, you want to be aware of his hands. If he's posturing on me here really strong, that could be really hard even to break him. I have to push his hands away, right? So he has no base, just like we do in close guard, right? And then from here, you're in a perfect position to go back to finish. Okay, and there are other solutions, but that's a nice and easy one that's usually helps you getting the job done. Another one is to switch to the armbar, just really quick. So from here, right? And especially if he's posturing on me, like I showed before, and maybe I can't get him away here. That's just can't get him. He's too big. I get my angle here, and then I just switch to the armbar because his arm's extended. It's perfect armbar from here, right? It's super hard. You can either get it from here or we don't have space, but usually I could dump him towards his head and then we end up in this traditional armbar position. In this case, I'm having both legs here, which is perfect. You can't hitchhike or escape from here. You can't turn out like this with a regular armbar. So from here you have one of the strongest armbar finishes. One last question. Maxi asked me a pretty broad question regarding leg locks. So he said, okay, in leg locks, there's a lot of different positions, right? We have ashi, outside ashi, we have saddle, 50-50, we have all different positions. Would it make sense to just get good at one first and then learn the others? Or should you get good at all of them, right? So I generally think it's a good idea to focus on one, but you have to learn the others also on the side, because the switches happen so quickly that you can't just force one position. So let's say Benny has me in the saddle, right? But then I'm trying to turn out from the saddle and he just throws his leg over to the other side. Okay, now he has me basically in a read position or inside ashi position, right? And I have to know both because it's so quickly. If I only know about saddle, I'm screwed here, right? And it's the same, it's for him, of course, right? If you're the attacker, you want to be able to string them together, because oftentimes the solution to the defense of one position is going to one of the other positions, right? So they're really intertwined. So you should learn them, at least broadly, but definitely I think specializing on some of them is beneficial. Personally, I would pick saddle or 50-50 probably to specialize in, because though they are more, if you play them properly, more dominant. I mean, 50-50, not the traditional 50, but more the modern variations like 80-20 variations or outside Sakaku variations, which are all in this basic theme of 50-50, right? Where I'm just having my knee safe here. But they're more dominant than, like outside ashi is maybe not the safest one. So the quick answer is focus on one or two of them. Personally, I would always pick saddle. I love saddle and it's very universal. You can use it in every context, to sweep, to pass, in IBJJF, even before they changed the rules to hillocks. You can use it everywhere and learn the others around this, right? Because you have to know. Okay, that's it for today. Hope it helps. As always, if you have questions, put them below the video or in the Telegram group, whatever you prefer. And yeah, take care. See you soon.
We're sorry. Sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry. We're sorry. I'm deeply sorry. Sorry.